The Trump administration, including Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and the Attorney General Pam Bondi, have already violated a temporary restraining order, an order of a federal judge, Chief Judge Boasberg of the D.C. Circuit Court. He ordered planes to be returned, the deportation of Venezuelans and others to stop under Donald Trump's phony proclamation of war that he issued on Saturday. But despite those orders, and the judge actually saying during a hearing late yesterday, turn the planes around, not only did they not turn the planes around, they delivered the 230 or so Venezuelans and others into the hands of a strongman from El Salvador and put them into one of the most notorious prisons, which has tremendous humanitarian and libertarian violations, and putting some children as young as 14 years old into the clutches of the strongman leader of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, who's become a close friend with Donald Trump, primarily because he wants to fill up his notorious prisons with these types of individuals. And they have violated Jeb Boasberg's order as a result. I'm Michael Popok. You're here on Legal AF. Let's get down to it. How do I know they violate it? Well, that's because Nayib Bukele of El Salvador, the president of El Salvador, wrote a crying emoji, crying, laughing emoji, and too late under an article about Boasberg's order. It's always great when you have an ally of Donald Trump who's poking fun at a federal judge at his orders. Now, the ACLU brought this case, the American Civil Liberties Union, and its Immigration Rights Project, to make sure that these people, whoever they are, narco terrorists or 14-year-olds, have due process rights and constitutional rights on the way out. They don't just get put with hoods over their heads on a back of a cargo plane and dumped off into El Salvador in some sort of prison in the middle of a jungle. That's exactly what's happened. Now, Jeb Boasberg has done an admirable job at keeping the government's feet to the fire and setting a very quick briefing schedule off of Saturday's hearing. I just did a report that he expanded the injunction to include, by certifying the class, to include all of the people subject to the phony war declaration Donald Trump made on Saturday, declaring that we were at war or imminent threat of invasion because of drug cartels and drug gangs that have been here for decades. So that's gonna lose ultimately at the Supreme Court level, or it should. In the meantime, during the hearing, Jeb Boasberg heard from the ACLU and others that planes were already on their way to El Salvador. He ordered them returned, to which Carolyn Leavitt, the press secretary, and Pam Bondi, the head of the Department of Justice, said it is an incursion into executive power. It will be ignored. The Department of Justice will continue to work with the Trump administration. Now, we knew something was up, because at that long, rambling press conference that Donald Trump gave at the Department of Justice, he mentioned the gangs, right? The Tren de Aragua, the TDA gang, and the M3-13 gang, the M313 gang, and said, you're going to be hearing a lot about them in the news the next couple of days. Well, now we know why. Because he was about to issue an unconstitutional proclamation of war against, which he can't do. That's for Congress to do. Last I looked, they hadn't declared it. But the point of this is, you've got Jeb Boasberg, who set a briefing schedule that'll time out Monday through Friday of next week, with a final hearing on Friday. He's got the government, the Trump administration, filing their opposition to the TRO that he considerably expanded Saturday night after certifying the class and entering the TRO. He has them responding on Monday, with the ACLU responding on Tuesday or Wednesday, and a hearing on Friday. Okay. So now he's going to have to deal with the fact that there's deportations, and people in the administration are saying boom, and Bukele in El Salvador is saying, oops, too late. I mean, this is really disgusting. Marco Rubio, who I always consider to be an empty suit, he should resign. I mean, he was the first one when he was a senator from Florida, where there is a huge and proud Venezuelan community, to argue for their temporary protective status because of problems in Venezuela. And now he's the first country he visited before he was sworn in almost, was El Salvador, go touring the notorious jail that they were going to put all these people in. That's the country we now live in, where Donald Trump takes people off American soil at any age and deports them to some of the most notorious, abusive jails in the world, where they're now going to apparently sit for over a year. We'll throw up some pictures of what we've seen from the media as they came off these cargo planes, and beyond the jurisdiction, apparently, of federal judges. That is what Trump is doing. He's trying to put people outside the clutches and the jurisdiction of federal judges he doesn't like. So if he's got a New York federal judge, he whisks them to Louisiana. If he's got a group of Venezuelans who are in American custody or on Guantanamo Bay, he whisks them off to El Salvador, right? To try to get them out from under federal jurisdiction. This is an assault on the rule of law and on federal courts. We'll continue to follow it next. I am sure with we're going to get a new filing by the ACLU informing the judge with the new evidence of the violation of the temporary restraining order. And the judge is going to have to do something about it. Could be contempt and contempt of court. We'll see what he does. We'll see what federal judges do right here on Legal AF. Continue to follow me, Michael Popok, on all things social media at MS Popok. And then, of course, right here on the Legal AF YouTube channel. Take a minute, vote, hit the subscribe button. Help us continue to bring this content to you uninterrupted. Anyway, I'm Michael Popok, and I'm reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.